my next slide is basically the deployment options for the two platform versions of SAP TM. So let's say suppose these are the different types of deployment options are available right now in market, where you can have, like, if you look at this, your SAP TM, you can have your SAP TM uh, be on on S4 HANA, and similarly like the other S4 HANA you can have, and then you can do the communication with multiple S4 HANA boxes. If you look at the second option, which is basically uh, uh, yeah, so the second one is like, your S4 HANA box. I mean, this is a S4 HANA solution, which is basically has all the different modules, and you have your own SAP S4 HANA with your S4 HANA database you can integrate. The first option, I'm sorry, this first option was like, everything is clubbed into one, which is 1809 or 1909, like your TM system, TM module, or your other SAP modules will be integrated, embedded in one box. Similarly, let's say suppose the option number three, where SAP they have only done the database upgrade to S4 HANA or any database, and their enterprise central component is still on normal ECC, and their transportation, but they have migrated to S4 HANA. Their transportation management, you can still communicate with the ECC box, yeah, ERP or SAP GTS, EWM, whatever. So this type of offering can be done. But I haven't seen any customer who whose system, their core components are in ECC and the TM is uh, in S4 HANA. But that is something which is still offering. If the customer wants, they can do it. And the fourth option is like, which is basically a very basic, like, like we have our two ERP system is on in the ECC side, it's not on S4 HANA. And similarly, the transportation management is like a standalone system. So you can still do very well integrate with the system. And we have been doing for last, several years. We have been doing. I mean, SAP has been, SAP solution is still working for last 12 years. And the last option is nothing but if in case if you want to upgrade or if you want to migrate all your all your modules to S4 HANA, but you don't want to migrate your TM. So it will be in your old-fashioned 9.x version. So, but still you can very well integrate. You can very well integrate with the system with the S4 HANA. And what I can do is now moving on to the next slide, which is basically uh, SAP S4 HANA system conversion. So basically, if if anyone is involved in the implementation project kind of thing, I mean, or the data migration, they uh, they must be aware of all these processes, like, what is a preparation phase and what is a realization phase, and how we do all this maintenance planner works. Like, it's basically like I said, like, uh, like SAP S4 HANA is mainly for manufacturing, procurement, and finance system. Like, it's basically a best practice to reusing the knowledge assets and pre-building components, contents, and all. But whenever we go for this, so SAP, whenever they release a new version, they always release they release a document which is called as simplification list, and that simplification list will give you the whole informations, like, what all things are changed from the data modeling standpoint, or if any business processes are uh, are obsolete in the system, or if any database, like, like S4 HANA is against the aggregation. So there are some tables which are been omitted from or obsolete from SAP. So those informations are there in the simplification list. All right. So this slide is mainly for this one. So what happens is you do some type of, pre-checks, like, uh, like like it checks the components of whether those are compatible. uh, those are the things which you will execute in your TM standalone system to check whether these systems are compatible whenever they do migration to S4 HANA. So they do some activity like software update manager and all. Then there are some pre-checks transactions which basically runs and it checks all uh, checkpoints like these are compatible and not. Similarly, like if suppose if some tables are being obsolete and if you have some custom code, so we do have our custom code checks where it will check the custom code compatibilities. But these are basically a license, I believe. I'm not too sure because I'm not into the sales side, but as per my understanding, there are some functionality which SAP is offering, but that comes up with some license fees. So these are like you will have your preparation phase and then you do a conversion phase and then you post processing like maintenance of the data like like suppose you are migrating from your normal ECC to S4 HANA, you do your CVI integration and all. So those are the checks which you need to make sure like before you go live it has to be done, otherwise your conversion will not work. All right. So moving on to the next slide, which is our TM migration. So So basically, migrations can be like our operation modes are like whether you want to integrate the system like side by side or whether you can. I mean, the customer can go with an embedded solution, but embedded solution is mainly for the new implementation or kind of because they don't want to invest too much of money because if they have the standalone solution, the customer usually prefer to go on the standalone solution. If they are on S4 HANA, then definitely they will go on S4 HANA for TM as well. And these are the master datas and all. So we do have some migration tools which basically help us to, uh, like what is the scope and timeline for the developments of migration tools. So those are the informations which basically comes up. And plus, when we go for any project migration, we do have a lot of queries from the clients, like why is the tool is available is only for 9.5 or 9.6. So I just want to give you an information like if you want to go for a migration project, like suppose you are on 9.1 version, your current client, and they want to migrate to S4 HANA 1909, they cannot directly migrate. They have to first upgrade their system to 9.5 or 9.6. That is a prerequisite. Without that particular specific version, they cannot migrate to S4 HANA. Like for ECC 6.0, if your client or if your company is on support pack 1, 2, so the prerequisite for S4 HANA migration, you need to be on SP 8, 7 or 8, I guess. Yeah, ECC 6.0, 7, support pack 7 or 8. Without support pack 7 or 8, you cannot migrate your system to S4 HANA. Similarly, in our TM system, we need to have TM 9.5 or 9.6 version if you want to migrate to the next version. Now moving on to the next, which is basically a TM migration tool. So this migration tool is basically gives you a very handy information. This migration tool will give you the whole overview that when you are migrating, how you migrate the data, uh, like in our sales and distribution. If in our normal ECC system we have our customer, but now in S4 HANA we have our own business partner. So how the business partners automatically gets converted. So in ECC, what we normally do is we do have our own CVI integration. We need to set up those CVI integration and then run the migration tool in ECC system to convert the data into a to S4 HANA specific data, which is nothing but uh, using this tool, you will convert the data which will be useful or which can be used in the S4 HANA system. Similarly, we have our own solution in TM where we run this migration tool and it will convert those data into a specific S4 HANA specific data, and then we will migrate it to S4 HANA. So these tools will be executed in the standalone system in 9.5 or 9.6. Now the next slide is basically these are the comparing paths for SAP S4 HANA. Like if suppose if you are going for suppose if your customer or your client is not on SAP, then you go for a new implementation. Or if suppose if your client is already on SAP, then it depends, and a company has a business process and that fits to the current requirement, they don't want to do anything, so they will just do the conversion. They will not go for the new implementation. Why would they invest the money again, right? So they will go for just a system conversion. They will bring the system to 9.5 version, and then they will do the migration to go to the S4 HANA. But if in case if your company's uh, seeks a fundamentally some design issues in the business processes, in that case what happens is they scrap the system and then move on to the new implementation, right? And similarly, a company has checked and is able to take over the existing custom. So like suppose you have some custom codes, and you want to move on to S4 HANA, so you want to check whether those codes are not affected, and you can very well use in S4 HANA, and there is no table or any database table which is used in the custom code. So in that case, what happens is you can go for the system conversion, right? And similarly, uh, system conversion is faster rather than new implementation, because they want to go live. Because in our old-fashioned ways, when we have like ASAP methodology, we usually have 12 to 18 months of period for of one project. Like if you kickstart on 1st January, it might finish up by end of the year or maybe the next year mid. So but now we are coming with agile methodology where we can have small go lives, like based upon you have, if you want to go live your third party process, you can try to go to a third party process without going into MTO, because MTO will not have any impact. So those are the things you can do it very well with agile methodology, which we are now currently using in our S4 HANA. Now I'll show you that how the SAP S4 HANA 1809 is integrated with the system. So if this is our S4 HANA, and this S4 HANA system right now, uh, it is basically this can be integrated to several modules. And plus uh, this is because EWM was also a standalone system earlier, but it is now again integrated or embedded into S4 HANA 1809. So now S4 HANA TM and EWM both can be, there is an internal service call, and it can automatically call the services internally. It doesn't need any type of message communication from one box to another box, because in our previous versions what we normally had was we used to have a lot of proxy messages sending out from one system to another system. Let's just take an example, like you have ECC box, you have EWM box, you have TM box, and if you create a delivery in TM, the TM will be distribute, ECC will distribute the delivery to two different system, which will be your EWM system and TM system. And similarly, when you do your and then if suppose if any inconsistency comes up, all the documents will be locked, and it will not be possible for you for the people or for the user to process. So again, the consultant or the support people, they go and try to fix those errors. Like suppose if, as an example, like if the material is not available in one of the system, it might not process and it is in the lock status. Then the support person, they will push the material to a specific system where it is giving an error. Then it will reprocess the error messages and all, and then the message will be unlocked, kind of thing. And then once one system sends some, let's say suppose EWM departs the does the departure. So once the departure is done, the message is again sent back to ECC, update the system. So there are a lot of chaos, a lot of message transmissions, and it was very very difficult. But now since everything is in the one box, this is gonna be a very very easy for the support people to handle. So that's how it looks like. It has some offerings, like you can connect like this as well. And if you look at this one, you can have you can integrate your TM system. And if in case if you have some specific business process which you don't want to integrate and you want to keep it as a side by side solution, you can do that one as well. So that's how it looks like. Now, this is our TM on S4 HANA, the strategic direction. So it's basically as I think most of the people already knows, like SAP will